or I define myself. I still have to issues. I'm also a really sex person now. I used to live in news colony, so nudity is not really an issue for me. And so those are this is me personally. This is who I am. So I don't believe that I am at all contributing to the misogyny or anything like that in the world.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and like it's great, like for you if you're embracing the terms and you're embracing like that it's not objectifying, but like how do you have the confidence that the people who are observing and participating aren't using the word whore the same way? Like how
Right. That's.
Like, I think embracing a term or embracing a concept is like it's great in principle, but like when you have other people who might not be who might not just have the same mentality or be in the same kind of culture, like.
Well, that's where it comes down to an educational issue. So that's why it's kind of like, let's take something called Dirty Girl. We're starting a zine. It's basically supposed to be a sex worker zine, and where we're basically deconstructing the idea of Dirty Girl. So it's for people to submit poetry, writing, photography, whatever they think kind of like contextualizes that image, and then we're going to throw those zines out there. I'm going to make so many copies of this goddamn zine and send to every goddamn women's studies department in every university, because just for the purpose of that. I don't think, some of these people are using these words because there's stupid people out there in general. You can't really do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really affect every single person out there. But the people that are a little bit smart or a little bit tuned in a little bit to read and educate themselves on the issues, yeah, those are the people that I'm affecting. Like, am I going to change everybody? Am I going to make it so that I can write to Webster's dictionary and change the word whore? No, but it's a first step. It's a first step towards that. But yeah, any other questions?
A really quick comment. We don't have to make this just like Q&A. If people want to pop in with comments on what someone else is asking, you can also do that. And in the spirit of that, I will pop in. And I don't know, it seems like what you're getting at is that this is part of a larger effort that might not be cohesive in the sense that everyone's working for the same thing or working on the same project, but that little by little, through a multiplicity of avenues, we can get to a place where perhaps the word whore is not, derogatory anymore, or that sexuality is viewed in, for me, a healthier way than it is right now. So no, you through these websites, you're not going to change all of porn, but by even just from a sort of marketing perspective and an economy perspective, if you're putting more goods on the market and there could be a growing demand for them, there will be a shift in what is getting more people, what people are buying or what people are interested in, because you're putting material out there that they can then, purchase or whatever. So what you mentioned about when you were stripping and there were people who were well, why are you shaved? Why don't you have implants? I wish there were more people like you out there. I'm also dissatisfied with the status quo. I'm also dissatisfied with what is out there. That just goes to show that there is space for making media and providing those images for people who want them, and that there is a market for it.
I think another interesting point when I was dancing was that I get a lot of guys too that was kind of their first time just kind of coming in and experiencing that, and they're I'm kind of really intimidated when I'm in this kind of environment because it's really not me. I'm just kind of here seeking some kind of affection or something from somebody. I used to see this one guy that would ask me for a lap dance, but instead of dancing for him, he would ask me for hugs. And so we would sit there and hug each other during it. Yeah. So that kind of goes to show you, this is not just an issue of, feminism or misogyny or whatever. It's also a big issue around our sexuality. We are really fucked up in so many ways. When it comes to affection, and I learned about this in massage school, how important human touch is for people. We just don't touch each other enough. I know that sounds dirty or whatever, but we don't. We don't love each other enough, we don't touch each other enough, and we don't learn about sexuality enough. So I think this is a big, major issue. It's not just about promoting eco-activism and stuff like that. We have a lot of different layers of stuff to kind of work through in that. And I think that a big reason why the sex industry is the way it is because it's catering to an ignorant audience that's not asking for a more intelligent product. If they were smarter, then they could look at porn and go, people don't really have sex like that. What a joke, why is she doing that, or why is she making those sounds? I think, like I said before, if we just had more sex education, more sex in people's lives, learning about it, and not being so goddamn scared of it all the time, like it wouldn't be such a stigmatized issue and there wouldn't be so much heat and debate around it because people would just be more open about it. And therefore, there wouldn't be all these weird cultural stigmas that we have about it. But yeah, sure.
Have you seen any websites or met any people who are involved with these causes portrayed by male porn stars instead of
Female porn stars?
female porn stars?
No, I haven't. I know Fuck for Forest is owned by a couple though. But yeah, I mean, I would love to
I think
collaborate or do something with somebody in that kind of way. I'm definitely looking to, I mean,
I think Beautiful Agony has like men and women.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But,
Veg
people
porn
actually
does
said
too.
Right, in terms of the actual causes, I was just curious
Mhm.
if you'd seen any men with like the same
Oh yeah,
strategies
yeah.
as you do.
Veg porn shoots men as well. I was just kind of like at a rush to last, so I'm just kind of grabbing the images that were available. But yeah, veg porn, Beautiful Agony shoots men. I feel myself shoots couples as well. They shoot female couples. They shoot men on women couples, and I think for my friend, they were working on a project to shoot men by themselves and men with other men. I don't know how that's going or what the deets are on that because, like I said, they're kind of going through a lot in Australia right now with the porn industry in general, so it's kind of like inhibiting other projects they want to work on, unfortunately, but that's another issue. But yeah, any other? Sure.
You said that you kind of like gathered like your inspiration to like kind of do this stuff by like looking abroad and traveling, but was there anyone like from where you were from that kind of like helped you along in this process of like discovery or like accepted like talk with you? Like like how receptive were your friends and family to you doing this type of thing?
I had a partner that was pretty receptive. Most of my friends, like, unfortunately, when I got started in the sex industry, just kind of like fell by the wayside. They were just like, we don't like what you're doing. And I was like, well, you know, like, if you're not going to accept this part of me, then screw you, because it's, it's, you know, something that's part of me, something I really believe in. And that's why it was cool kind of going to Australia and meeting other women that were, like, different as well. And not just in terms of, like, working for porn, but also just being of a different mindset. They were just of a more sex positive mindset, and they knew about other political issues and stuff like that, whereas like other women that kind of met in the porn industry I wasn't really able to gel with that well because we were coming from different places. I'm just like not, you know, yeah, I guess it was like a cultural thing, I guess if you want to talk about it like that, but yeah, so, but mostly by myself. Oh, sure, go ahead.
Did you take any inspiration from your Native American roots?
Somewhat, yeah, I guess, but not really because it's kind of like not from, it's a cultural,
It's very like nature based.
oh yeah, it's very nature based, but they don't, they're not into like exchanging things for money at all, especially when it comes to like ceremonial stuff. So like culturally, this is like not a big, this is a big no-no. That's why like, I don't know if anybody's heard of Hypatia Lee. She was like a quarter Cherokee. She's probably like one of the more famous, the only Cherokee porn star basically back in the 70s, and she got a lot of hassle from people because she would kind of play up the racial stereotypes with that. But, you know, I don't know, I'm kind of like on the fence with that. I'm not really sure about that. I know I got cast in one scene called Twatinas, and I did not know it was going to be called that before that, and otherwise I would not have participated in that. And they just told me when I got to, said, oh, you're going to be Latina today. And I was like, well, you know, whatever. I've grown up in South Florida. I've grown up in South Florida. I was familiar with Spanish. I do have, like, Hispanic cousins and stuff like that. I'm really mixed racially. Like, we've got a lot of stuff going on. But, you know, had I known it was going to be processed like that, I would have said, no fucking way. Like, why would I want to? That's just a ridiculous name, but that just goes to show you, like, when it comes to, like, mainstream porn, don't blame the performers necessarily. Like, the women don't really have a lot of control over their images, so that's, like, another issue. That's why sites like I Shot Myself, where you're completely directing it, are awesome. But, yeah, so, yeah, just to answer your question. Cool. Any other questions or comments or?
Could you talk a little bit maybe about Madison Young? Because you mentioned, so some of the sites that you mentioned are either companies that like allow people to express themselves, or like what you're doing in terms of you have your own site and like you put your own images out there, and that's very visibly an activist cause because you're bringing it like directly into the porn itself. But people like Madison Young, or you also mentioned Sasha Grey, and like how they do that sort of more off screen or like not related to the mainstream porn that they're doing.
I think it's kind of cool because, like, I don't know if anybody knows Sasha Grey's story. She started off like the day after she turned 18. She's like, I'm gonna go do porn. She was really interested in film and all kinds of other stuff. She's a really cool chick just to read about because she's really brazen and aggressive and really into BDSM and especially being submissive. But when you watch her scene, she has this like really aggression around being submissive. I can't really explain it. I guess you'd have to just sit down and watch it. It's really interesting to watch just because of all the like cultural stigmas we have about watching women, especially like in submissive roles. But so I'm sorry, I totally got off topic, didn't I? What was the question?
How they how they use, and I know that like because I know the story, I just want like people to know about it too. How they use their mainstream porn, or I'm thinking more specifically about Madison Young.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
So one of her famous lines is, "How many anal scenes does it take to run a feminist art space?" So she uses her porn money, which she does like all kinds of crazy porn, and she runs a feminist queer art space in downtown San Francisco called Feminine Potens. And she basically it's centered around queer art, all kinds of stuff. They do all kinds of crazy events there, sex positive events, kink events, BDSM events. They've even done one of Annie Sprinkle's eco-sexual events there, I think, too. So it's kind of like a cool space for her to create that she's like, you know, okay, I'm taking this money and I'm going to put it towards another cause. So it's like another way, like, I really believe, like, sex work inherently, you can use that money as a subversive thing. So if you want to talk about, like, the big bad patriarchy as this big, you know, blah, you know, kind of thing, like, I think, like, one way that's kind of cool to use your sexuality or sexual appeal is like, yeah, sure, you know, I'll play up these stereotypes, but I'm going to make money and I'm going to put it into something else that I believe in. So you're kind of like taking money from the patriarchy in that aspect, and you're promoting causes that you believe in. Cool. That kind of. Cool. Any other questions, comments?
Cool.
Alrighty, well, thank you
Oh,
for
I have a
coming.
friend. Where did you work in Australia?
These were mostly in Melbourne, so it's in the state of Victoria. But yeah, all these sites are pretty much based in Melbourne. Unfortunately, they have to like shoot in Canberra now though because of the laws and stuff like that. But yeah.